Namaste. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome. Welcome back to our Margarete Petersen tarot study. This is just such a great experience for me. I'm really loving this deck in a whole new way. And I want to invite you to join in the chat. And I just noticed, I see that I didn't make this a members only. So I'll do that later for the playback. So welcome to those of you who have not been a part of this study as well too. Hi, Tammy Ann. So nice to have you here. I will open up YouTube. So what's going to happen today? Today we are going to look at the number 10. And in relation to that, we want to look at other cards of completion as well too. So the 10 in the major arcana and the other cards that symbolize completions, coming full circle. And so there'll be a few other majors that I'm going to throw into the mix today as well. Okay, so I realize I'm on a few minutes. No, it's after 4 o'clock. Today is a 5th Wednesday. So because I was away the first Wednesday, I decided to go live today. And we're going to carry on with Margarete Petersen through the month of July. I have decided I'm going to do at least 4 more broadcasts after this one. We're going to focus on the elements for the next 4 episodes and look at all of the majors and minors associated with each element and do kind of a review. I know we haven't tapped into all of the majors yet, so we will pick those up in those next 4 videos. And then for the month of August, I will probably move into a new deck. Okay, so thank you for being here. And I'm going to switch the camera over and pull out the cards we're going to look at today. So if you have your deck in front of you, you can pull out the Ace and 10 of Feathers, the Ace and 10 of Flames, the Ace and 10 of Cups. We'll be starting with coins. And I've also got at the top of the pile, of course, we'll look at the Wheel of Life. I want to look at correspondences with the world and also talk a little bit about renewal, which is the 20th card in this deck. So we'll be doing that. Hi, honey. I am not doing readings today. Okay, so Tammy Ann and Sharon, because we are, I didn't make this a members only for today. That was my error. If there are people that are looking for readings, can you just post a quick comment in the chat for me? That would be really helpful so I can carry on with my introduction of the cards. Okay. Discussion of the cards. All right, so let's go move these out of the way. I have something rather bold to say here about the poetry for this card. I almost feel as if Margarete Petersen, I don't like to say just her first name, she's not my friend. I kind of feel like she could be my Auntie Margaret or my great Auntie Margaret, was on a bit of a low point in her life. Or that is her relationship with the wheel card. I feel like the poetry for the wheel is a bit out of sync with the rest of the poetry. Thanks, Sharon. When I've read this poem over and over, and it's just so very different from the energy of the wheel that I am comfortable working with. I see the 10th arcanum, so this is the 10th arcanum here, as movement and flow of energy, being with the natural seasons and cycles of life. And we do get that energy of flow. So we see, I'm thinking at the center of the heart space, and then the energy begins to move in an outward direction. And notice how the energy in the Ace of Coins is moving in that same direction. So there's a particular flow of energy that is common in many of these cards as well too. We do see a face in this card. We see the colors of all of the elements. So that feels like I could read this card intuitively. But then when I turn to the poem, which I am going to read aloud, hi Vand, I feel as if she is, it's so sad. It's so very, very sad. And so I really want to speak to the poem itself. Revolving, not standing still, no beginning, no end. Right? And so that makes sense. That's just the energy of the wheel. We embrace the seasons of life, the cycles of life, and it feels that makes a lot of sense. And then she goes on and she says, revolving, you can't escape. Revolving, you can't escape. I'm reading your comment here. There are other things here. There's something here, and I'm not sure that I have. We could also have the symbols, images for the fixed symbols that are moving through this as well too. I have not done any path working with this card, so this is one that I definitely need to spend some more time with. Revolving, you can't escape. Well, my question here is, why would you want to escape? Don't you want to be in life? Don't you want to be in the flow of life? It just seems so very pessimistic. Revolving, holding on to happiness, holding on to suffering. So she's really talking to this energy of clinging and the aspect of pain in the heart, right? So clinging on to happiness, clinging on to suffering, lost in the magnetic field of revolving. This language also reminds me a little bit about the way that, sorry, I heard Padma, her name, I've lost her name, Deva Padma, her spiritual name, wrote about the wheel, or her team wrote about the wheel in the Osho Zen Tarot, and how it is so very important when we are going through change, or if we're having challenges with change, to stay at the center. What does it mean to stay at the center? Well, for some people, if you are working with Chinese medicine, it's to stay close to the Tanden, which is somewhere between the second and third chakra. If we're looking here, we're closer to the heart space. And a lot of people feel the center is the heart space. That's the seat of the soul. So if we stay closer to our center, however you want to interpret that metaphor, then the effects of the change will be less dramatic, and we'll be able to move. We'll be able to move less rocked by the movement, so to speak. Right? And then we go on, more kind of sadness here, lost in the magnetic field of revolving, round and round you go, wondering why nothing is resolved. When the blindness of love thaws, you regain your sight. Subtle shifts in orbit. You'll find the answer by the river. There's just so many directions I can go with this card. If we look to the outside, we see the color blue. You might think this is the river. The river is amongst and within and all throughout. What does the river represent? Right? So the river is the ocean. The river is the water. The river is the divine mother. So we'll find the answer within the goddess, with the goddess within. So you'll find the answer by the river. That's just, it sounds very shamanic to me. And I know there's a lot of shamanic associations in this deck. So this poem is one that is not going to, for someone who has not done a lot of work with the wheel, is going to feel, I feel immensely sad. And when a card is called the Wheel of Fortune. I love how she calls it the Wheel of Life, not the Wheel of Fortune. And I actually have never looked up the root of fortune, if that has something to do with life as opposed to financial stability, three-dimensional finances, and so forth. But this, if we go with the energy, we don't swim up the current. The answer is at the river. The answer is to flow with the water, not to struggle against it. Right? And yes, there is an illusion of a start and a stop in a river, but it is an illusion because, as you know, the source of the river, which is either from a glacier, perhaps it could also be from an underground spring, is coming from somewhere. It is a cycle, right? It is a cycle. This also, this harkens so much to the last deep dive we did. And I didn't pull out any of the cards in advance because we're going to go into the metaphor of the labyrinth as well and how she brings that into this deck. So for those of you that did the last deck deep dive, also in the Marielle Tarot, we have hearkening to water and river, the goddess by the river, the wheel, the wheel of transformation, which is how I see the energy of the lotus. So there's something about that. And one of the there's a couple of labyrinths in this deck as well too. One is on the belly of Adam, I believe. Sorry, I didn't pull this out ahead of time. So for those of you that are, this is the Marielle Tarot by Marie White. No, it is not. I was thinking there was a labyrinth on this card, which is a reference to Adam in the Five of Discs, but it's not in that card. Okay, so this is another card that really speaks to this as well too. If you think about the circle and the cycle of the river. So this is a really good card to sit with if that metaphor is something that you want to dive a little deeper into. We also have the river and the well as well here too. So that whole circle and cycle of water, of feminine energy. Oh, this is the card. So it's in the ace. Isn't that interesting? So in both of these decks, and yes, there is nudity in the Marielle Tarot, so if that's uncomfortable, please discontinue watching this video. There is a labyrinth within the heart, the belly of the angel represented here in the ace. So let's carry on and continue with this whole idea, this notion of flow of energy, moving with energy, not resisting energy. So this is a 10, this is a 10. How does this card inform the other cards? And that's one of the things I've been working with as I go through the deck. And this is something to me that makes a deck so much more powerful. It's when the majors and the minors have this synchronistic energy. The creator has intentionally worked to bring meaning. And I want to also mention that this is another one of my favorites. If a deck has a seed and a completion within the minor suits, this is a huge, huge thumbs up for me as well too. So notice how in the ace of coins, so here is the serpent that is coiled around, and we still haven't figured out what this is, the keyhole, perhaps the little human walking away. I see, so she mentions that the serpent has uncoiled in this one, and here you can see the head of the serpent. And where the rest of the body of the serpent is really up to you for interpretation. But the potential of all that is earthly or earthy is revealed in the energy of the 10. And I would like to go to Margaret's words herself, because she describes her cards far better than I ever could. Joseph's here. Hi, Joseph. Welcome, welcome. Okay. The form of the labyrinth is very ancient. For those of you that haven't done labyrinth work, it is highly transformational. And I have walked, I think some of you have shared, you've walked labyrinths, but it's a meditation practice. It's a transformation practice. It's also a practice of letting go. And when the way that I have participated in labyrinth work is there was an intention as I entered. I've often walked barefoot in a labyrinth. Another thing I usually do is take a gift with me into the labyrinth. This is something one of my teachers taught me, to leave at the center, to leave at the heart of the labyrinth. That's right, it was you, Tammy Ann. So when I go into the labyrinth, I always pause and spend some time at the heart of the labyrinth, and then slowly walk out. It's not something you want to do in a rush. I love to feel the feet underneath the ground underneath my feet, and just really enjoy the process. The number 10 corresponds to the Ace of Coins. What was once a seed has now reached maturity. The form of the labyrinth is very ancient. This card is all about leaving the security of the womb. Leaving the security of the womb. So we expand out into the world through this suit, and we saw lots of hands and feet and intention with moving and walking forward. And in these two cards, we don't see the hands and the feet. We see in the seed, there's a condensation of energy. It feels like it's closed in. The seed is contained. And here, just by the brush strokes, the way the energy begins to expand. And we'll talk about the jewel in a second. Symbolized by the 1, the Ace of Coins, behind and going on a journey. You have traveled through and over different layers of the earth, gathered experiences, and arrived at the center of your own self. You have arrived at the center of your own self. Each of the minor suits is a journey into the self. It's a journey of transformation. It's a journey to God. It's a journey to your higher self. So another metaphor for labyrinth work is we do this to find ourselves, and we meet ourselves in the center of the labyrinth. I think also to the Wildwood Tarot. The Wildwood Tarot who that uses the labyrinth in the world card as a portal to the next stage of the journey. And this is something that can be very challenging with labyrinth work. It can be quite unnerving, the things that arise, depending if the labyrinth is, if there are walls in the labyrinth. Some labyrinths, of course, are simply stones on the ground, but others have they're a container, they're a walled garden, and so the experience is quite different doing walking a labyrinth that has walls as opposed to one that doesn't have walls. Of course, I can't find this card. It wants to be the last one. So the other aspect of this work is, are you ready? Are you ready? Do you feel you are complete enough? Because there is something that needs to be left behind. And I think that Margarete Petersen is alluding to this in the poem for this card. She repeats about the holding on to suffering, holding on to happiness. We don't want to let go. There's a fear of letting go. There's a fear of moving forward. We stay where it feels safe. We stay where it feels comfortable. And if we're going to understand self, if we're going to journey into the center of the labyrinth and grow from that experience, we need to let go. We need to be willing to let go. There is no point in celebrating the 10 if we can't open our heart, if we can't open our soul. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the diamond in a second, Vange. Let's go to this one. It is an interesting idea that the constriction compression of the snake and the ace then forms the diamond and the 10. Yeah, it is. It's also think about how diamonds, right? So that the compression, we see a seed, right? And the seed is condensed and compressed. And through the expansiveness of energy, it's like we come back full circle to something that is even harder, yet becomes the treasure. Becomes the treasure. And in labyrinth work, often one of the things that is very important to do is to find the treasure in painful experiences, or to find the gold in difficult relationships. The coiled up serpent pictured on the Ace of Coins has uncoiled itself and become your visible and invisible companion. And remember what the serpent represents, right? On many different levels, through many different mythologies. The brain as well as the intestines are related to the labyrinth. So just close your eyes and see a brain, see the intestines. Some cultures predicted the future by looking at the intestines of sacrificial victims. In the center of the earth, you will find what you are seeking: the treasure, the diamond, pure and brilliant, free from all impurities. Because it has been heated so intensely, it is 100% pure. It is pure and clean. And that is you on this journey of transformation. And you have been through all of the other elements, right? This is the most integrated. And I, again, repeat that she presents the suit of coins first, I think, as a way of unpacking the tarot. So we begin with the most integrated suit, and then we look at the bits and pieces, and then we come back to the suit of coins to help us to understand this journey, this powerful journey. Now, when we look to the world card, we see, if you look inside the world, perhaps we see the wheel here at the very center. There are, I see the dragon of the strength card. I see a flow of all elements and all energy moving through here. But again, the energy is moving in the same direction. She has a flow of, and this works as well too in healing medicine. It's important to move. If you think about digestion, for example, when you're massaging the belly, you always want to be moving from the from the ascending to the transverse to the descending colon, right? You always want to be moving the energy in the direction, in the flow of life, in the flow of digestion. So let's go to the world. There's one line here that just is so very beautiful. But again, this is a powerful connection. Circling at the far end. So it's almost as if we have moved from, hello, Jay, welcome. Let us know your name so we can greet you by name. We've moved, like, imagine this as a spiral. So you're looking down on the cards, and we're moving up and up and up. And it could be sideways, it could be in any particular direction. but the force is just so, so great, so beautiful. Respect for, this is my word, not hers, fragile patterns of life. So there's a gentleness in the end. There's a gentleness with honoring the challenges that we have been through. We are on our way. We are ready to step through the portal. We are ready to step and return out of the labyrinth and through the tree of life. And we honor the challenges. We celebrate them. We dissolve in the flickering light, internal rhythm of slow moving waves breaking against the heavens and bound to no order. Filled with the spirit of the wind, a figure appears, unveiled, dancing into the center point, the last sign before nothingness. And to me, I see the figure moving towards us. And so the perspective of the world card is really interesting in relation to the other cards that come up in a reading. Hello, Michelle Lynn. But I just had to bring this card in. I want to talk about renewal as well too, and I'm going to talk about that. But just because of the shapes and the energy of the circle, I think it's an important. It would be so fabulous if you did subsequent readings. And a reading several months ago, there was this indication of the beginning of change, the beginning of movement. And then you had some repeating cards and you saw the evolution through the world. It's just so beautifully painted. So beautifully painted. Okay, let's go to the Ace and the Ten of Cups. The potential. The potential of the Ace is revealed in the 10. So in the 10, within the picture frame, oh, I just saw something I've never seen. I know these are swirls of paint, but I saw a rose up here just now. Isn't that interesting? We see the calmness of the sea. The calmness of the sea. For those of you that don't know, Tamianne and Michelle Lynn are sisters. Tarot, sisters in tarot and sisters in birth. Twin sisters. Yeah. We move from, so this is in a pond, it's in a container, in a stagnant, maybe not stagnant, low flowing water. And the low flow of the water is necessary for the lotus to grow and to bloom, right? There has to be some sort of stability in the mud for the lotus to move through the water to the sunlight and to emerge, or the lily, right? The pond lily, whatever the flower is. So that there's an importance for the container and the stillness at the beginning, for the seed to grow, for the seed to be nourished and supported. And then once we have journeyed through all of the emotions, the turmoil of the Suit of Cups, we come to the wide open water and we see the calmness and the peace of the fullness, right? The fullness of the water, the fullness of emotions. And we embrace it and we celebrate it. And we have this happy yellow color surrounding it. Just so brilliant the way that the use of color has the use of color moves through each of the suits. When we will look at the whole series of the suits when we go through the individual elements. So we will go back to that again. So where do we see, or how do we honor the wheel here? Let's remember that she was talking about the answer is by the river. And we need to remind ourselves that the river is the ocean. The ocean is the river. Whether one is salty or one is fresh water, they're all connected through the circle of water, through the cycle of life on the planet. They feed one another. And so we see the water cycle, here, coming to I don't know, it's just like it's just so very peaceful. And I find both of the cards peaceful, but there's something about the peace and the expansiveness. I think there's a fear. The container, right? The container feels safe, and we feel a little bit scared, in the big wide ocean. But if we hold up a little picture frame and we look at it through a smaller perspective, it's more manageable. But in truth, we could take down that frame and breathe deeply and embrace the expansiveness of the ocean as well, too. Joe, hello, Joe, welcome. Yeah, we've really had an amazing time going through this deck, and actually in all of the series. Anyway, let's carry on and go to the Suit of Flames. So we go back, and this is where I'm going to bring in, I think, the renewal card, because it's going to fit in so beautifully here. The Forge. So this now has become the Forge. This is the Forge for me. And I'm calling this the Forge and the Phoenix. The Forge and the Phoenix. I really have nothing else to say about this card. This to me is pure alchemy. This is the creation, the transformation of gold. This is gold paint. She painted the Phoenix. She surrounded the Phoenix with a gold frame. It's incredibly layered and potent and beautiful. And phoenixes to me I love the metaphor. And if you are Scorpio, if you connect to the energy of Scorpio, and actually I've been nerding out a little bit on my own natal chart. I'm informally studying astrology these days, and I have been absolutely fascinated with Scorpio and the evolution from the crustacean to the eagle to the phoenix, and looking at how that happens tarotically speaking around Samhain, around the Halloween time of year, where we honor that energy. And so this is the pagan new year, this is the Wiccan new year, this is such a great connection as we move into Sagittarius. And there's just something about the Ten of Flames that is underutilized in the Rider-Waite-Smith. It is so hard to talk about the greater and deeper meanings of this card with that particular image and that particular painting. And I do my best to find little bits of gold in different Tens of Wands cards, because there is so much gold in that card. The Ten of the Flames. So in this particular deck, for those of you that are new to this deck, there's a lot of relationship references through the Suit of Fire. Deep connection in Margarete Petersen with the Suit of Cups and the Suit of Fire, about the nurturing, the building, the balancing relationships. So it makes total sense with the fire and the water. Water being mother, fire being father, divine masculine, divine feminine. And So we see that journey, the reference to relationship through this suit of passion, but also creativity. And for me, one of the biggest associations of the suit of fire is that of Dharma. So I go into there actually is an error in this guidebook that I want to point out. I think I will do that in next week's chat. It comes up in the strength card. So fire is in Manipura chakra. Manipura is the solar plexus chakra. And so this is where our sense of identity, our sense of self is ignited and grows. Our sense of self-worth, our relationship with power begins to blossom and bloom. And with and through fire, we grow into our, spiritual warrior selves, right? And so this transformation through fire takes us from a very kind of egotistical busyness of life to a beautiful spiritual place where we can trust and let go and allow our higher self to shine through. And yeah, it's we'll talk lots about fire next week, but yeah, so this is where I want to bring in the 20th arcanum. And again, I'll bring this card in next week as well too. So the 20th arcanum, the 20th arcanum, sorry, my Latin is very poor. Two reasons why we have an association here. So this, of course, is X. This is double X, right? So this is little change, big change. Little change, big change. And we see almost in the renewal card, we see the burning through, or the courage to burn through, right? The courage to allow the transformation. It's just, what do you say? Like I'm at a loss for words at how beautifully connected this tarot deck is. And I can only imagine the power of a reading, the tears that might appear in the corner of the eye should these two cards come up together in a reading. It would be so self-affirming to see these cards. And you tell me, when is the last time you looked at an RWS 10 of Wands and felt that that was self-affirming? It should be. It's your journey through your work, your career, your life, your passion. That 10 completion should be self-affirming. The other piece here is that, and there's something about the World card as well too, is that readiness to let go. And I'm the kind of reader that when I'm working with clients and some of these big change, big ending cards come up, I do a little bit of work around, are you ready? Are you ready to let go? Would you like some practices to help prepare you for the letting go? Because these are powerful steps in the process of transformation. Okay, we're at 39 minutes, so let's go on to the last couple of cards for today. And everybody's, I don't know anybody that doesn't love this iridescent peacock feather. Now we have a very different energy in the 10 of feathers. And I've had this plant described by different people as, so to me, this feels like a thistle. It feels like thistle or in the thistle family, but I know other people have seen this quite differently. We see to me, which looks like the moon, the kind of sunset that comes during new and full moons, a summer kind of energy, the red sky, the feather is lofting down here. So this journey through authenticity, more than anything, through becoming spiritually authentic to our true selves, by matching our thoughts with our words, by matching, by bringing peace and harmony with what is coming out of here, with what's going on in the mind, is an important part of the journey through the suit of feathers. The ace is described as mental clarity and being one. So there's a recognition of wholeness. So we start with wholeness, and then through the journey of the suit of feathers, we reflect on the bits and pieces of the journey. I'm reading from the Ace of Feathers section. The peacock's feather represents the iridescent nature of your thoughts. It symbolizes immortality, royal dignity, and vigilance. And I think vigilance is an important word here, because often we get distracted when things become really difficult. And as you all know, the journey through the suit of swords is not an easy one. And so the highest frequency of the swords has kind of a guru quality, watching over us, reminding us to go back to our practices, to be more discerning, to always discriminate carefully, step back, be the witness of your life, so that you can learn and process all of the lessons. 10 of feathers. The fickle and shadowy thoughts have come to a rest. They have settled on tree branches and come down to earth. You have experienced fear and pain without being destroyed. Right? Let's write that. Let's sing that in capital letters. Pain and fear will not destroy us if we can dive into their lessons and dive into and stay in the big picture of the journey through this suit. You have experienced yourself as part of the film and as part of the screen. This is one of the first times she uses this metaphor, and I think for those of you that meditate, I know sometimes it's described when you close your eyes and you are getting lost in your thoughts, and the mind starts to take over, or your ears start to ring. One of the things you can do is watch the squiggly lines and the colors, or the shapes, as if they were on a moving screen. And so you watch it and then you let it go by. It's like you capture it and you release it. You capture it and you release it. The choice is yours. You can always leave the realm of your nightmares or your busy mind. Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So he describes it as a disturbance, right? A busyness of the mind. And the reason for yoga is to calm that disturbance. And so what we're seeing in this card is a calming of that disturbance. Again, there is a peace, not unlike the peace that we see in the 10 of water. Put a stop to old patterns of thought by gaining mental clarity and applying the power of discernment. So there is potential, of course, to see death in this 10 of feathers, like we have that potential to see in an RWS deck with the dryness of the flowers. But it is so much more than that, as within all of the suits, right? There's and look, you know how we were looking within? If you look into the center of the eye of the peacock feather, we have another repeating pattern here. And remember that in this suit, we've seen the moon in the background in all of the cards. There is something about the color saturation of the ace being contained in the feather, and then, yes, yes. So you're seeing that too. So it's like this container becomes released, right? Just as we saw that happen, well, in all of them. And it's a baobab tree in the tent. Thank you. That makes me want to go to, I have it, anyway, that takes me to another deck, but it's not beside me, so I can't share it with you. Like the culmination of the suit is being able to step outside the mind, being thrust into the fullness of the environment. So I think in each of the suits, we're seeing that there's a reason for the containment at the beginning. And we become more and more comfortable with the expansion of energy as we journey through. So one of the things you can think about as you're doing readings with this deck is look at the ace through the 10 as with its distance from the container to expansion. Right? So the 9 is quite close to expansion. The 2 is just like stepping outside, just kind of peeking outside the door. In the 3, we might have stepped right outside the box, but we still have one hand on the outside wall. So this is another way to view the journey through the suits. Yeah. It's pretty impressive. All right, so where we're going to go, I have put up the thumbnails for the next 2 weeks. So next week, we're going to look at all of the fire majors with the fire minors. And then the following week, we'll look at the water majors, and we'll include all of the ones that we haven't done, because I know we haven't done Trial, the Hanged Man, and the Moon. And we'll make sure to we'll spend some time contrasting Sun and Moon as well, too, when we get to the water week. So that's the plan. Mm-hmm. This is an important part of the 10 of Swords, as I was talking about the move towards trust, which of course is a release. It's a releasing of the ego. Yeah. This deck is very good to make readings regarding processes of integration. So this is a deck that I would use with a client who was diving deeper into work, into self-study. It's not a deck that I would use with somebody. That's my dog, in case she's snoring right there, for those of you that don't know Amber. I wouldn't use this deck with a client who was new working with me, right? It's a big step into self work. Thanks, Michelle. All right, everybody, I'm going to leave you for today. I will see you next Wednesday. It'll be at this time next Wednesday. So for those of you that are new, the tarot deep dives are alternating 2 weeks at 4 p.m. and then 2 weeks at 10 a.m. because people join us from all over the world. So the morning ones are more popular with the UK and the EU members. Mm-hmm. I will be back on in about 10 minutes. I have another video coming up if you want to hang out with me. Take good care of yourselves. Namaste, everybody.